Well, hello. There's something going on today, but I'm trying to remember what. I know there's something special that happens today, but as you get older, the memory starts to go. But there's some event, some events are taking place today, and oh yes, NFL football is back. It is the first NFL football Sunday of the season. And of course, that means, for me at least, and in these parts, and for fans around the world, Eagles football Sunday. And this is week one of, and the first video of the 10th season of the fan. We have reached double digits in seasons of season of the fan, and I'm super stoked and excited, of course, for this season, as I usually am. Most seasons have at least ended in a playoff berth, right? There were some down years, of course. There were some seasons of dreck and misery, but a lot of these seasons, within the Jeffrey Lurie regime, have at least ended in a postseason berth for the Eagles. And of course, last season ended in Super Bowl 57. And Yeah, that didn't end the way we were hoping out in the desert. But Kansas City. I've said it before. Sometimes you just gotta tip the hat when you're playing a dynasty. You're either gonna win or you're gonna lose. In the Super Bowl 52, we were able to beat a dynasty in the Patriots, who ironically we play week one on Tom Brady Day. Come on, Tom! In Foxborough later today. And sometimes you're going to lose that dynasty, right? Like the Eagles did last season against Kansas City in Super Bowl 57. And of course, there were some plays that were left on the field, and you can't do that against a team like that. And I understand um, the situation last season in that game, a gimpy Mahomes, but even with that, and we can complain about the field, but the fact is that a team that led most, if not all, I forget the exact numbers. I know for sure they set a franchise record in sacks during the regular season. Almost got the all-time record by those 85 Bears, but they fell a little short of that, and then they fell a little short of winning the Super Bowl, and they weren't able to get one sack on Mahomes, even though he was playing basically on one ankle in the Super Bowl. But it is what it is. I mean, look, that was then. This is now. It's a new season, and in the off season, the Eagles, as they usually do, Howie season never ends, and they were able to make some moves. They brought some guys back, some guys we didn't think would be coming back, but they brought them back. James Bradbury, for instance, came back. They were able to retain some of their veterans to another, 1 year deal. I mean, let's face it, Kelsey and Graham. I mean, they should just be permanent Eagles. They should never go anywhere else. I would even put a Fletcher Cox in that category, but I believe Fletch is going to want to play another extra year or two, and I don't know if the Eagles are going to continually, bring him back with the fact that they've added a lot of youth along that defensive line. But certainly BG and Kelsey, I mean, you know, they should definitely, Jason Kelsey and Brandon Graham should definitely be lifetime Eagles. I mean, that just no doubt about it. Um, I can even see them retiring both numbers, to be honest. But at any rate, nice jobs, a nice job in the offseason by Howie. Manipulating the cap as he always does, making some moves, in the draft, positioning themselves to move up a little bit and get some players that they identified as the players they wanted to get. A lot of Georgia dogs. It's been said. It's been certainly noted. Now, look, those players were great in Georgia. I mean, they had a ton of success there. National championships won. big reason why that team won was because of their defense. And the Eagles went out and pretty much brought just about as many of those players that you can. It's never been done. So this is definitely an interesting experiment that you have so many players from one team in college. They had a lot of success there. Comes to an NFL franchise, and let's see if we can continue that success on this level. It's a risk. It is, because as we know, there's always going to be busts. There's always going to be players who are great in college, come to the pros, and just never, that light switch never flicks on, for them. Now, I have hope that it will for these guys. I think that they, were tremendous players, and I think they're going to have tremendous coaching here on the Eagles. Now, is it still going to work? Time will tell. I'm not going to say it is or not just yet. Obviously, we still have to see it put together on the field throughout this season and in the seasons to come, too. This isn't just a one-year deal. These players are going to be here for a number of years, so they're going to have to grow into the system and being NFL players over the next few years. And Jordan Davis is certainly one of those players, too. He was a rookie last year. He kind of got hurt. Mixed results from him last season. He was a first-round pick. I'm not going to say he's a bust. I mean, he got hurt. Things happen. It's not always the easiest to transition from college to the NFL. But one of the successes that Georgia had while they were there was him and Nakobe Dean. I mean, basically Davis being one of the big contributors to Nakobe Dean having the success he had in Georgia as a linebacker, an undersized linebacker, but certainly a very good linebacker, a playmaking kind of linebacker in Georgia. And I'm interested in seeing what Nakobe Dean's going to do on this level. And there has been plenty, including Hall of Famers, undersized linebackers in this league who have made great careers for themselves in the NFL. There's some comps to him. I mean, and comps are what they are. But to Sam Mills. And Sam Mills obviously was a great Hall of Famer. Had Philadelphia connections because he was on the Philadelphia Stars USFL team many years ago. But his nickname was the Field Mouse. He was a smaller, undersized guy for his position for linebacker, but he was one of the great linebackers, really, if you think about it, for his time in the NFL, for when he played. He was part of the Dome Patrol in New Orleans, one of the great linebacking units ever. And then he had some great years, of course, with the Carolina Panthers. And great player. You can't, you can look at size, but it's what's inside, right? And Sam Mills certainly had that. Zach Thomas, another Hall of Famer, undersized for his position, but one of the greats for his era. And Nakobe Dean, listen, I think he showed some flash, right, in the preseason. The preseason is what it is. We're not going to celebrate preseason games the way the Indianapolis Colts did after their first stringers beat the Eagles' third stringers. It was like, yay! We'll see, but that's what those kind of franchises will do. Okay, when you're in the big boy club like the Eagles are, you don't celebrate preseason games. Preseason is where you learn as a young player about the playbook a little bit, about, okay, this is where I have to be. This is where you make mistakes. And I'm not saying it's okay, but you can get away with it a little more because it's preseason. The games don't count. No one cares about preseason unless you're the Baltimore Ravens. For whatever reason, they wanted to win every single preseason game ever. And, of course, that streak ended at the hands of the Commanders, right? But at any rate, Nakobe Dean did show some flash in the preseason. I thought he had limited snaps last season, but I liked the way he played. He knows how to find that football. And that's a very important thing, obviously, for a defense as a whole. But certainly, if you're going to play a linebacker position, he's having a very important job this season, because I do believe he's going to be the player with the green dot, right, with the signal caller, basically the quarterback of the defense, bringing in those plays to his teammates that are brought in from the sidelines, from the coaching staff on the defensive side on the sidelines. Eagles have a new defensive coordinator, a new offensive coordinator, although Sirianni's still going to be the play caller, the preliminary play caller, but, have some help, of course. And listen, I mean, Nick has done a great job. I mean, he's gotten better and better as the seasons have come along. It's hard to believe. It's only his third year, and in only his second year they go to a Super Bowl. A la how Doug Peterson did here in their second year. In Doug's second year, the Eagles went to a Super Bowl. Now they won that one. Nick Sirianni wasn't able to do that last season, unfortunately, but still a lot of success. And now it's about trying to get that Lombardi, right? Now, it's always easier said than done, and we know that. In this town, right? We've only had the one, and we'll forever be grateful for it, but it's a hard thing to do. Winning any championship in any sport, it is very difficult because it takes a lot of skill. It takes a lot of, and it takes a lot of luck, right? It takes a lot of luck. I mean, I will say that, when the Eagles, it's funny, the Eagles won Super Bowl 52 with all the injuries, right, including to the quarterback position. They go to Super Bowl 57, the healthiest they've ever been, and they lose, right? So that just goes to show how hard it is to win this thing, right? You can go into this game as healthy as you can be and still find a way to lose, right? It's not guaranteed. You can have a lead at halftime and everything's looking good and you're feeling good, right? And then the second half happens and adjustments are made, right? I mean, Slim was, down to man cave during the Super Bowl. It was myself, Slim, and Mark M. And Slim's like, boy, I hope we can adjust because, Andy's going to adjust. And sure enough, Andy adjusted. That Chiefs team adjusted. And we can all talk about the penalty that was called at the end, and I do think it's a shame for no other reason other than it took away what could have been one of the greatest finishes to a Super Bowl all time. But the Chiefs certainly made adjustments, and they came out the better team, and they rode that to a Super Bowl championship. But at the end of the day, again, you have to have a lot of skill, and you have to have a lot of luck to win this thing, right? It's like that in any sport. It just is. Dynasties, you appreciate them because it's hard to have a dynasty. Very few teams can do this, right? Why is there only one dynasty, right? I guess in football you can kind of say in the last however many years we had the Patriots doing what they were doing, and now you have the Chiefs doing what they're doing. But it's only really two teams, right? No other team has kind of been there. I think the Eagles are probably, and I know I'm a homer, I'm going to say it. I think the Eagles are as close as you can have to a team with that type of sustained success, right? They've only won the one Super Bowl, but they did go to two. They've been to the playoffs multiple times. They've had a lot of success. And if you look at other teams in the NFC, they can't really say that they have been on that kind of level the way the Eagles have. Even as great as those Cowboy fans think their team is, they're the Sixers of the NFL. They can't get out of the second round. It hurts me as a Sixer fan to say that, but it's true. They haven't been to an NFC title game since 1995, which was the last time they won a... So stop me if you heard this before. The last time they won a Super Bowl... But it was also the last time that franchise was in the NFC title game. We're not even saying Super Bowl, right? It's hard. But the Eagles have found a way, and they have a system that works. They have a system. It starts at the top with the ownership, goes down to the coaches and the players, obviously. And speaking of players, Jalen Hurts. Boy, what a season he had last season. Finished, I believe, second in the MVP running, right? Pat Mahomes won it. And we were all happy when Mahomes won. It was like, oh, no MVPs won a Super Bowl. And then Gippy had to go and win it. But, it is what it is. But Jalen really stepped up last season. I mean, look, it surprised me. I'm as big an Eagle fan as you're going to find. And I didn't think Jalen was going to be able to throw the ball the way he was throwing it last season. I had questions about that. I had concerns about that. I thought he was a really good player and a leader, and the team certainly responds to him. And I did believe he is the franchise quarterback. He is QB1. But the way he threw the ball last season, look, they gave him weapons. You have A.J. Brown. You had Devontae Smith was already there, but A.J. Brown, of course, Dallas Goedert was there. You have a lot of weapons and, of course, the running game and this offensive line, which I know I'm partial. It's the best in the league. It just is. Okay? I know other teams, oh, well, this offense is, no. You haven't done it the way the Eagles have done it year after year. Okay? Now, listen, they brought in some new running backs this season. Miles Sanders, of course, now with the Panthers. You bring in Swift. You bring in Penny, right? You have other guys, Boston Scott, who's always good for a touchdown versus the Giants. If you have him in fantasy, or just pick him up that week because he'll score against the Giants. Giant fans know. Right? They're so tired of him. It's always him. So he's guaranteed at least 2 scores this year, both when they play the Giants both times, right? But no, they've certainly made some interesting decisions with the running back position. I like the addition of Swift, and I know this, like Penny, he's a guy that got to stay healthy. And there was some talk in the, are they going to go after, right, Cook and these other guys, or, Jonathan Taylor and this and that. And maybe that's still on the docket. You never know. I mean, Taylor didn't get moved. He's still in Indianapolis, so he still could get moved. And we know it's always Howie season. So if there's an injury to the running back position and they can make a move, he has Philly ties. I mean, you might as well bring him into the nest, right? But I have no doubt that they're going to have success running the football. Obviously, Jalen's part of that. Obviously, they're third or fourth and short, the good old tush pushes that they're still able to do. Listen, teams complain about it. Well, then stop it. But they haven't, right? I mean, any team can do this, right? It's not just, it's just the Eagles can do it, but no one else can do it. Any team can do that play, but the Eagles have mastered it. You might as well just call it the Eagles tush push play, because that tush push play, because they're the ones that do it the best. But they have that offensive line, and they just get that push, and you have a quarterback that squats over 600 pounds. So certainly, yeah, they're in a bit of an advantage there. But it's amazing to me how many times they do it and it works just about every time. It's almost like a cheat code in Madden. It's like one play, this play is going to work. I'm going to run it. Yeah. But again, any team can run that play. It's not just the Eagles, but the Eagles do it better. We're just better than you. Just deal with it. On that particular play, they're undefeated. Love to say that about Super Bowls. We would enjoy that too. But no, Jalen certainly had a great year. And now the thing is, look, we've seen Jalen the year before, who was a great athletic quarterback, had some trouble throwing, right? The deep ball accuracy, the intermediate accuracy. But boy, he worked on it last offseason, didn't he? And he came in in just an incredible season with the passing game, not just running the ball. And he's still going to make his athletic plays with his feet, because that's what he is. Right, that's one of the gifts that he has. But boy, he was able to beat teams with his arm. And some of the catches that you see some of these wide receivers, particularly the Slim Reaper, Devontae Smith, make, unbelievable acrobatic catches. And we're blessed. We are, to have the two great wide receivers, because that opens a lot in an offense, as we know, right? How much that opens when you have those two stud receivers, and then you have a stud tight end in Dallas Goedert. How much that just opens for everything else, right? Now, there's still some question marks. Are they deep enough at wide receiver? We're going to have to see, right? I mean, that's just one of those things we're going to have to see. The running backs, are they going to stay healthy? I mean, Swift, I think Swift was a great pickup. I really do. Local guy. I love he wears 0, because that's the number of championships. He's a local. He's an Eagle fan, so he wears 0 because that's the number of championships he's seen Dallas win in his life. That's great. But but besides that, he is a very talented back. Now he's got to stay healthy, and the same thing for Rashad Penny, has to stay healthy. When he's on the field, he makes plays. He runs for a lot of yards. He has success, but he's got to stay healthy. It's keeping him on the field that's been his biggest bugaboo. And Detroit, listen, I think Swift's going to have a great year, because I think that he has a chip on his shoulder. Detroit saw him as expendable. And I think, players, listen, the players, when you do that, a player's going to try to prove his worth in that next season. And I think that if he can stay healthy, Swift's going to have a really good year. I really do think he's gonna have a special year here for the Eagles. A, he's playing back home for the team he grew up cheering for, and B, it's a great offensive line in front of him, a great offensive play caller in Sirianni, great quarterback in Jalen Hurts. So all the potential's there. And Swift has had some when he's been healthy, he's had some really good years with Detroit. And some of those Detroit teams weren't that great. So if he can do it on a team that wasn't so great, now he's on a great team, it just elevates that level of play that much more. But again, you got to stay healthy. And health, I think, is going to be a situation this season. Look, we were lucky last season. Had a season pretty healthy. I know Jalen kind of got dinged up towards the end of the season. I know there were some other injuries here and there. But for the most part, they were healthy as you can find a team in the playoffs. They were probably the most healthiest team going into the postseason, and they went all the way to a Super Bowl. So I don't know if we're going to have that 2 years in a row. It's hard to have that 1 year in a row. Now you try to do that 2 years, that might be a little dicey. So you're probably going to see some injuries this season, and now it's about can they overcome those injuries. Now they were able to do that very famously back in 2017. So we'll see what happens this season. It is a little concern of mine. It is something that's in the back of my mind. Oh, well, they were real healthy last year, and how often do you have that, in playing this game, 2 years in a row. But we'll have to wait and see, right? So they open the season in New England, and it's Tom Brady Day in New England, and I think it's just so it's so ironic that the team the Patriots are playing is the Eagles, and maybe in a way that's kind of how they planned it because, well, it is the start of a season, but listen, if there is a team that has had history against Brady, it is the Eagles, right? Only the Eagles and Giants played him in 2 Super Bowls, right? The Giants won both of theirs, right? The Eagles beat them and lost. They lost Super Bowl 39 and won Super Bowl 52. So, yeah, I mean, there is a mutual respect for the two franchises, I do believe. Mr. Lurie is a New Englander. I mean, I'm sure he's buddies with Kraft. So, there's a mutual respect there. I mean, the Eagles kind of wanted to be what the Patriots were. And, they're still striving for that, right? To win many Lombardis and to have that type of success. And I think the Patriots see the Eagles as, a very good franchise. A franchise that if there is a franchise in the NFC who can kind of do what they did in the AFC, it might be the Eagles, right? Obviously, the Chiefs are the current dynasty in the league, right? But I do think there's mutual respect for both franchises. Though I don't really see it as a rival in a way. It's hard for to be in the NFC and to call an AFC team a rival when you don't even play them every year, But we did see them twice in the Super Bowl, lost to them, beat them. Obviously we respected the dynasty that they had. We wanted to be like that. So you respect it from afar, but you also understand that, yeah, I mean, look, we've had tussles with them, right? We've had tussles with them. And I'm happy to say that, the Eagles won, that they beat them once. And they beat them at the height of their powers. And it was Brady's last Super Bowl loss. So we'll always be able to say that, right? Maybe Tom even said, let's do it against the Eagles. I want to meet my good. I want to greet my good buddy Brandon Graham yet again. And ironically enough, there's still some Eagles like Brandon and Fletch and Lane and Kelsey and guys that were on that team in Super Bowl 52 that beat Tom and the hoodie. And the hoodie's still there patrolling the sidelines in New England. Listen, I don't think this is going to be an easy game. It's week 1. Do I think the Patriots are going to be a great team this season? No. I don't. I think they're going to be, one of those kind of in the middle kind of teams. I don't think they're going to be a bad team. I don't think they're going to be a great team. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I think that division is really tough when you look at a Buffalo and a New England and the Jets, what they did, right, with getting Rodgers on the team and that defense, that ferocious defense. And they got a lot of playmakers. I think New England has a chance to finish fourth in the division. And I think the only way they'll finish ahead of them if there's a lot of injuries on one of those other teams, or if it just doesn't work. If for some reason the Jets were all bark and no bite, right, or the Bills have a down year, or the Dolphins have more injuries and they have a down year. But other than that, I see them as a fourth place team. But I think they're a dangerous team in week one. They're playing at home in Foxborough. You still have the hoodie there, defensive mastermind. And he's had a long time to study the Eagles, all off season. So it's tough. Listen, last season going into week one in Detroit, that game became a tough game. I mean, we all thought, well, the Eagles are going to win, but it might be a tough game. And indeed it was. In fact, now current Eagle Swift had a very nice game in that game, scored a touchdown. But so I can see this game as kind of a little back and forth type of game. But I think at the end the Eagles will win. I think they win. I'm just not a fan of Mac Jones. I know he doesn't have a lot of weapons there. He's still young. He still has to learn how to play the position in the NFL. But I'm just not a fan of him. I look at him and I just see a guy. I don't think that they're going to win games just because of him, right? They'll win games if their running game is really good, if the defense is really good, right? I don't see Mac Jones just winning a bunch of games on his own arm, on his own ability, But they have some weapons. Obviously, the running backs that they have now, they have Zeke Elliott, who's always, played well. We talk about Boston Scott against the Giants. Zeke always scores against the Eagles, it seems. Right, you get down towards the goal line, and Zeke's always punching it in when he was with Dallas. But now he's a Patriot, and you can't say, hey, we're just going to take care of him. Look, he's done it to us before, so it wouldn't be shocking if he gets in at least for a touchdown against us in this game, right? But I do think the Eagles are going to win. Listen, at the end of the day, levels of teams, we're better than them. I think you throw that out the window in week one, even week 2 and 3. That's when the season progresses and now you're rolling and you're just better. I mean, that's just it. If you're playing like a Cardinals or one of those teams like later in the year, which the Eagles aren't playing the Cardinals, but, one of those teams, right, and you're rolling, I mean, that's basically going to be a slaughter fest, It's just like that team coming in has no chance, basically, right? But week one, you don't have that, right, because there's no momentum. Everyone's 0-0, everyone's starting over, everyone's starting fresh. So you kind of throw that out the window. I think that's one of the reasons why you always see a lot of teams that are really good, like in Super Bowl or, conference title games, like losing week one. Like Kansas City lost, right? Now, Detroit's going to have a good team, but Kansas City loses at home to Detroit, right? And I know Kelsey didn't play, but Kansas City coming off a championship, the banner night, everything, and they lose. They lose at home to a Detroit Lions team who's going to be good, but still, I mean, Kansas City, I mean, look, you're a dynasty, right? You're going to be one of probably in the Final Four at the end of the year again, right? And might be in another Super Bowl this year, but they lose in week one at home, right? So week one, you just never know. It's the biggest crapshoot week of the year, right? So is there a chance the Eagles lose? Sure, there is. They're on the road. You're playing a team that I don't know if Brady Day is going to be a big rallying cry for them. I mean, a lot of those players didn't play with him. So I don't know if we're going to win for Tom, I don't know. But I mean, there is pomp and circumstance around that. And obviously Belichick's, ready for a season or as he would go, We're ready for another year. We're ready for this season. Yeah. Belichick's got a Belichick, right? But I can certainly see this as a tough game. Again, I think the Eagles win the game. I do. I think the talent will show up at the end. And by the fourth quarter, I think the fact the Eagles are a more talented team than the Patriots, I think that's going to show. And they'll be able to make more plays on offense than the Patriots could. Maybe we get a couple takeaways. We'll see. But I think we win a close one in New England. I do. And we ruined Brady Day for the Patriot fans. not that they have to be reminded what happened back in Super Bowl 52, but I'm sure Eagle fans in the stadium will be happy to say, hey, you might see a couple Eagle fans with Super Bowl 52 jerseys on in the stands. So we'll see. It's week one. I'm glad there's another season here. I look forward to football. It's probably my favorite sport to watch because it's only one game a week and you have that whole week of preparation, to kind of get ready for the next game. Now, obviously, this week's a little different because the Eagles' home opener is next Thursday night against Jake's Vikings, right? So, we'll see. So, a short week going into the next game, into the home opener. But nonetheless, another season is upon us. Season 10 of Season of the Fan, the Philadelphia Eagles, is here. I'm excited to bring you this again, yet another year. And, we're going to take it as it is, right, week to week, as best I can. I know last year things happened. I didn't do it week to week, but I'm going to try my best to do that and to bring this to you week to week, yet again, for another season. And hopefully this year we can have the confetti fall on us for a good reason at the end of the season instead of the confetti falling for the other team. But anyhow, so as I've done in the last however many years, we do have the segment here for the Season of the Fan series called the Festive Four. Right, the 4-pack of winners, and we're not worrying about point spreads and all that Vegas mumbo jumbo. Right, we're not worried about that. It's just who's going to win the game against the other team. Right, so Festive has been crunching the numbers, and Festive, hello, and I know Slim's happy to see Festive. Festive, say hello. Right, so you have the 4-pack of winners that Festive believes is going to win week to week. All right? So we're starting, of course, with week one, and Festive has the, look at hot off the press, Festive has the 4-pack of winners. Festive's going over it again, as you can see. Festive's very into this. So that we have Festive's 4-pack of winners this week, right? So if you are one of those that throw some shekels on games, you might want to pay attention, okay? So, first of all, Festive likes, and I'm sorry to Rez in Bay Area, but Festive likes a team that is going to become a big rival to the Eagles right now. We're going to have wars. We're going to have wars. That team and those fans don't shut up about last season. You knocked our quarterback out. No, your team knocked your quarterback out, okay? So, anyhow, Festive likes the Steelers to win week one against those San Francisco 49ers. Oh my, is it going to be the 49ers Eagles again in the NFC title? I think it is. And I think it's going to go our way again, San Francisco. I think it will. So anyhow, Pittsburgh beats San Francisco. Festive also likes Seattle against the Rams. Seattle, a playoff team last season. The Rams are in rebuild mode, even though they still have some decent players on that team, some vets. But Festive likes the Seahawks against the Rams. Festive also likes Cincinnati to win the first installment of the Battle of Ohio this season. Festive likes Cincinnati over Cleveland. Festive also likes the orange and black teams. I mean, we know that. And finally, Festive likes Dougie P's Jacksonville Jaguars to beat those Indianapolis Colts because the Colts were celebrating like they won a Super Bowl after they won a preseason game against the Eagles' third stringers. I mean, they have to celebrate somewhere, somehow, right? Because they're not going to celebrate a lot this season, even though they have a Gator at quarterback, right, and Richardson. But even with that, they're no. And Taylor, if you want to. Come to a winning organization. At some point, Howie's still watching. Don't you think that that trade deadline? Howie, it's always Howie season. So Anyhow, in recap, Festive likes Pittsburgh over San Francisco, Seattle over the Rams, Cincinnati over Cleveland, and the Jaguars to beat the Colts. Some divisional games in there. Festive wasn't afraid. I know you're very bold, Festive. You're a bold fox. Oh, you want to sit back over there? Okay. Anyhow, that is it for the Festive 4. That is it for this video. Where'd it go? Over here? Okay. That is it for this video. But thank you for tuning in as always. Enjoy week 1, everyone. Happy to have the NFL back, right? We've had college football back for a few weeks, but now we have the NFL back. It's all together. Football is certainly back for this season, and I am looking forward to another season of Eagles football, of course, as always, and bringing it to you week to week. So let's go, Birds! Let's get off to a 1-0 start and ruin Brady Day in New England. And get off to a good start. All right, everyone. I will see you on the next one. You all take care.